Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are, where you're listening from. Welcome to Voices from the Ice Live, a broadcast by the American Polar Society. And today you can see I'm Susan Ady, here to welcome you, but also here to welcome Bill Muntean, who is in Japan just now. Hello, Bill. How are you?
Osaka, Japan, and it is evening time here in Osaka, Japan. I'm very happy to have this opportunity here to talk with y'all. I am here in Japan to participate in a series of events relating to the annual Antarctic Treaty meeting that just concluded in Hiroshima, Japan on Thursday. So get to hear all about what the accomplishments are, what the pending to-do list is, and other things related to Antarctica.
Fantastic. It's amazing to me that you're there. You're not in the ice, but the topic is about the ice, right? The topic is Antarctica. So, just for a moment, for people who may not know you, Bill has been a State Department leader in Antarctic things for years. So his passion is the polar regions, but mostly Antarctica, and has been a participant for the U.S. government at the Antarctic Treaty meetings, which has been fantastic. But recently, you've retired, you've taken on a new role in life, and but you're still participating, which is fantastic. However, you weren't in the meetings; you're in these other meetings around the meetings. So, backing up a little bit, we're all familiar with the Antarctic Treaty meetings. Well, those of us who are polar fanatics. And we know that typically they're very closed, they're very tight. But what has happened this year, Japan is hosting the meetings, and I understand they go through the list alphabetically. So it was the J year, and so this year is Japan. And around the Antarctic Treaty meetings, there's been a series of other fantastic meetings going on. And one of them I understood started in the beginning of, the beginning of the meeting series in Hiroshima, and it was based on peace at the poles. And we all know that Antarctica, the treaty focuses on peace and science. And so I was quite impressed with the organizations that came together to have those meetings outside of the treaty meetings. So that was an organization we call ASOC, the Antarctic Southern Ocean, oops,
Listen,
Southern Ocean what?
listen.
Coalition. Thank you very much. ASOC, right, with the C. And then there's the organization Peace Boat, which is all about um, uh, peace. And there was other organizations as well. But then there was this series of things going on leading up all the way up Japan. And I think you're a part of some of those. Can you tell us what those are?
Yeah, so again, so the Antarctic Treaty meetings, this is where the 29 countries that have full voting rights get together with 29 additional countries that are members of the treaty. So a total of 58 countries participate, plus a number of scientific, environmental, or industry organizations participate in these meetings. And they're all related to how you govern Antarctica. Antarctica does not have any indigenous population. And so there's no obvious way that you govern such a space, particularly a continent that's the size of the United States and Mexico combined. So what happens instead is countries underneath this treaty get together and make decisions about what's how to manage this huge and wonderful space. And so that's what's happened for 9 days. Um, yes, I used to be a State Department career diplomat. I did that for more than 20 years. And then the last 5 years of my work at the Department of State was working on Antarctica, particularly polar issues, but specifically Antarctica. And in the last 2 years of that assignment, I was the head of the U.S. delegation to this meeting. This was the ones in Berlin in 2022 and in Helsinki in 2023. So I have a privileged background as to these Antarctic Treaty meetings, the governing process, as the lead representative for the United States, which is a significant polar player in Antarctica. And so, yes, Japan has organized a series of events, both in the around immediately around the meeting, by which I mean you've got the meeting rooms in a convention center, same as what you'd find in just other meeting, but immediately outside those areas are booths and actors such as ASOC, Peace Boat, and other folks, in order to help create knowledge and interest about Antarctica, not only for the population of Hiroshima and Japan in general, but also for the delegates
Um,
of the different countries about their perspective on what is happening in Antarctica, or in this particular case, how Hiroshima's own particular history
mm,
ties in to Antarctica's history. There's not much similarities necessarily, other than Hiroshima is now known as the city of peace,
right.
and peace and science are the major drivers for what are happening in Antarctica. Now, in addition to those activities, which are right immediately around the meetings, there's a series of more academic activities that are occurring where, in my case, they get former diplomats or um, other experts. They might be lawyers, they might be PhD folks, um, to talk about issues relating to Antarctica. In particular, how do you govern it?
Yeah.
And in this particular case, so today, I just completed a series of activities today. Um, it was all about what were the decisions made in the treaty meetings. And these decisions might be along the lines of, well, do we all agree to give special protection to certain areas, geographic regions in Antarctica? So, say, to restrict or prevent tourists from going into an area that is a colony of Adele penguins? Or do we give special protection to emperor penguins or to fur seals because they have both of those species have now been classified as endangered underneath this International Union of Conservation of Nature, International Union of Congresses of Nature, I think, IUCN. They do the endangered species list. Fur seals, which are in Antarctica, emperor penguins, which are in Antarctica, were just recently declared as endangered species. Um, so at these meetings, we learn sometimes they make good decisions or ones that we are all excited about, such as providing additional protections within certain geographic regions. Other times they make decisions that we're not happy with, such as they continue to not give additional protections for emperor penguins or for fur seals. And so, to the extent possible, we figure out we can discuss these issues and see, okay, what does that mean? Does it mean that Antarctic governance is good or bad? Or what do we need to do to strengthen the activities? That way that we get more protections where we need them while still allowing other activities to take place. Or, we address any number of issues. One of the things I got to talk a lot about, I ran a panel with some fabulous people. It was all focused on tourism in Antarctica. And so participants in that particular panel were able to talk very knowledgeably about tourism activities and the process that Antarctic Treaty countries are now going through in order to determine whether or not to get specialized regulations geared towards tourist activities. And so members of this panel, one was the chair of the working group that the countries have established to negotiate a framework agreement. Another person was a former head of that working group. I had the head of the tourism operator group, IATO. So Lisa Kelly, who is the executive director who represents all of the different cruises and tour operators that take activity in Antarctica. She was there. Um, Claire Christian, who was the head of this Antarctic and Southern Ocean Coalition. This is environmental NGOs. She was able to participate in that as well. And we had several academics as well. So it worked out great in that we were able to have a very informed conversation with knowledgeable people who will be participating in making decisions and contributing to decisions at the next meeting, which will occur next year. Um, the next meeting will be in South Korea, Incheon, South Korea, about 1 year from now. So we've got a year in which the governments will get together informally to make up their own decisions and do informal negotiations. And we've got the environmental NGOs, we have the scientists, we have the cruise operators, we have the air operators, we have all the different folks that will be doing their businesses and then coming up or not with policies about how to manage tourism in Antarctica.
Wow, that sounds like a full day you had. Very, very impressive.
Oh, it was, I mean, I don't know if I did anything impressive, but I know that we had some impressive people on that panel there, which is fabulous. And so, I mean, that's the great thing is we have lots of people. Well, okay, I take that back. When you get really excited about Antarctica, you get really excited about Antarctica. And so it's a great place that you can continue doing activities and you have a basis of knowledge. And I'm fortunate enough to be involved with uh, facilitating and conversations such as what we just had on Antarctic tourism and other governance issues.
What I really appreciated hearing was the diversity of the representatives that were there talking about it. So you have so many people from different backgrounds and different expertise who are passionate about Antarctica and how do they work together to make things happen, to make a difference, to govern. And I think that seems to set an example in the world of how you can do this around some pretty sensitive conversation, like endangered species. For many of us in the world, that's a very sensitive conversation. And, use of an area is, boy, that's doesn't matter what country you're in, that's a very sensitive conversation. So really fantastic that not only do you have, or does the ATCM or the nations have the ATCM meeting, but you have these meetings outside of that main, whatever it is, 2 week, 3 week meeting that you can continue the discussions. So that's really quite exciting. So tell me, Bill, how you're presenting and you're also a moderator. What are you doing, or what organization are you with now, since you're not with the State Department, that brings you into that world to facilitate your presence?
So, retired diplomat, so I get to be non-diplomatic, which is a role I love to embrace here. I'm an independent researcher, essentially,
Okay.
and I am associated with several organizations, one of which is, of course, the American Polar Society, but another is a think tank based in Washington, D.C., Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS is the think tank. And it's one of the leading think tanks in the world, according to those people that rank these sort of things. Um, it's a great organization to be associated with. And I say associated with because it works out that they don't pay me and I don't pay them. And
Mhm.
so I find that to be a very good arrangement. But we do get to collaborate and on activities for example, I was able to work with my CSIS colleagues to host a series of interviews with the organizers of this Antarctic Treaty meeting in Japan. Had that conversation with them in March about what their expectations were and their hopes were, and was able to publish this interview through the CSIS and get it out through different means. It is a way to, from my perspective, I find it useful, particularly for a US audience, to get a perspective not only of what the science and environmental stuff is going on in Antarctica, but also the politics. And because politics can affect how we respond to
Hmm.
environmental issues or science issues. So that is my goal in my activities and my research is to provide some background information, particularly to U.S. audiences, on the geopolitics of Antarctica and how that plays out in different specific areas. And for better or for worse, people know me and remember me from my time at these Antarctic treaty meetings when I was the representative for the United States or the lead representative. And they still talk to me, which is very kind of them. And they invite me to participate in activities, which is also very kind of them. So it works out great. I think I get to continue to have some engagement with those people who are still representing their country or representing their organization, whereas I get to represent nobody but myself, which is a great level of independence.
Well, thank you for that explanation. That's very good. And your sense of humor, which comes through so very well. I wanted you to go into what it is you do because you're also a huge volunteer for the American Polar Society, serving on our board and helping us facilitate our communication and our mission, which really is to support the science, support the players, support anybody who's polar passionate, and which you are, and I am obviously as well. So I'm really happy to work with you on the board, but to see that you're out in the world where it's really all about, and I come back to this, communication with each other, working together, and regardless of politics, that we still continue on doing that, and that's so important to us. So thank you for your efforts, not getting paid, but and not having to pay to participate, so that you can still just be you and share your cares and concerns and expertise, because you bring a great deal of expertise to the topic. So thank you. Oh, I'm not hearing you again. Maybe speak up.
Yeah, and thank you very much. And it's also a great pleasure to be involved with the Polar Society. The great history of the Polar Society, almost coming up to 100 years, which is fabulous. And really the event that the Polar Society just hosted earlier in May in New York City, where we had a wonderful opportunity to engage not only on the history of the Arctic, but on the future of the
Yeah.
Arctic and have a great conversation. So those are the type of activities along with this sort of video recording, the Polar Times flagship magazine. Oh, very nice there.
Did I get it in
Um,
there?
yeah, but it blends out due to your
Oh, there we go.
background thing. There we
There
go.
we go.
That looks fabulous. So again, it's a great organization to be with to spread the word about um, passion in the polar regions.
And that 7th of May event you're talking about the Arctic perspective, is on our YouTube channel. And so anybody who wants to go to American Polar, um, I forget the things, but you can find it on our Facebook connection as well. But yes, we are, and we propose to do more of these symposia, to get out and experience different topics to do with the polar regions, and hopefully in different areas, maybe Washington, maybe East Coast, maybe West Coast. We're working on that. So come and be a member of the American Polar Society. then you can have this. This is going to be in your mailbox when you get home, Bill. The latest edition featuring emperor penguins who need our help. Um, and I'm just going to say at this point, thank you very much for your time today. I know you've got to be going through some jet lag, but you've got a big week ahead of you, and I want you to save your energy for the important meetings. But I really appreciate you coming and sharing and telling us about this extension of the ATCM and how countries and organizations are working together for the governance and the future of Antarctica. So glad you're a part of that, and thank you for your time.
Sure, thank you very much for everything, and good luck with all your activities here back in the.
Thank you very
Bye.
much, Bill. Take good care. Bye bye.